All aboard! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Dolphins fans of all ages, I am Beast Mike. You have now arrived at my train of thought. Some housekeeping before I get to the Dolphins mock drafts. WrestleMania, we did several podcasts on it. Beautiful stuff. And I went 6-1 for night 2 of the WrestleMania. The only match I got wrong was Logan Paul and AJ Styles. That match didn't hit the heights I thought it would, but I thought it was a purely solid match. And in general, I thought night 2 was very entertaining for the most part. That women's triple threat was amazing between Io, Rhea, Bianca. That was an amazing match. I'm going to watch that back, I'm sure, several times this week or so, because I thought that was a serious banger. The street fight was very good between Drew and Damian Priest. I thought that was really entertaining. I already talked about Logan and AJ. I really did like the tag match. I thought was decent. I didn't think it became obvious that Becky was going to be the partner of choice. But I thought it was a decent match. Nothing crazy. The Fatal 4-Way was very good, though. I did enjoy the Fatal 4-Way between Dom, the new Intercontinental Champion, Finn, Braun, and Penta. I thought that was a good match. I don't know why people are dumping on Randy Orton versus Joe Hendry, but I really did like that. I thought it was very funny. I enjoyed Joe Hendry's antics and Randy Orton vibing to it and rocking with it and then RKOing Joe Hendry not once but twice. I enjoyed that. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun little match they had. And then we close it out, obviously, with the WWE Championship with Cena. I thought that was a bit underwhelming, to be honest. But also, I think it perfectly fit what John Cena was trying to do. I don't know why people are overly hating on it. Maybe it's because of the finish. Maybe because it's Travis Scott. Maybe because The Rock is partially responsible for this, and yet we have not seen Rock literally since the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. So maybe that's why people are dumping on this. And I thought the finish was underwhelming. I really did. I thought the match was okay, but it was never going to come close to last year because last year was an S-tier main event and maybe the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time, to be honest. I'm not saying that because I was there. I'm saying it because it legitimately was like that. But enough about that. It's now time to look forward. And as your front row passenger of the tour train, I have to talk about the NFL draft. It's coming Thursday. Like I said, I'm going to do one right now and then do a mock draft situation on Thursday night. Maybe Friday too, but that may be a tour train video. We'll get there. We'll see what happens and what I'm feeling like on those days. But let's talk about first the mock draft without trades. Remember, I'm going to do one with and I'm going to do one without the trades. First off, with the 13th pick, I was kind of in a bind because a lot of the guys I really would have wanted weren't there or like what I would have wanted them to be. But Jahad Barron, considering the Jalen Ramsey news, we're going to need a boundary corner. And I think Barron, at the minimum, will be a CB2. And if Ramsey's not there, okay, he might be CB1. It's going to be necessary either way, considering I don't think Ramsey's a Dolphin starting 2026. I really don't. So I would have loved to have had Kenneth Grant be the round 2 pick. In a perfect world, that is the case. But he was sniped for me a couple of picks before I could get to 48 with the Cowboys. So I had to pivot, and I took Jonas Salvinea from Arizona, who I think he's going to be a pretty solid guard in the NFL, and I think I could immediately slot him in at left guard in the NFL, and I can feel really comfortable about that. This is not the last time I'm going to address the offensive line, because honestly, I'd rather have a stable center, and I'd rather have one more tackle, because you can never have too many of them. So that's where I am with this. Omar Norman Lott and CJ West, 2D tackles. I think we need to get to between 13 and 116. We need 2D tackles. Zach Sealer needs some destructive friends, and I think these two guys could be destructive friends. There's some size here. There's some athleticism here. There's some clogging ability here, because we need a clog to stay in the middle of this defense, and I think either of these two guys could do that. I think, and obviously both these guys were on 2 good defenses and 2 teams that made the college football playoff. So, big stage stuff. And I think these two can help the cause and help Sealer and help this defensive line remain afloat, because the Dolphins are certainly going to need the defensive line to hold its weight, as the back seven needs to do its thing as a good unit. Joining said back seven, Danny Stutzman from Oklahoma, solid linebacker. Now, I do like the linebacker room as it is, and this might not be a pick that needs to be made, but he was one of the better players on the board at this time, and certainly since linebackers are all on shorter deals, it would be worth having another linebacker that Miami could try to build with. I'm going to go back to the offensive line and take a big man in Jalen Travis. Good pass blocking. He could certainly be a backup tackle on either side. And again, you can never have too much depth on the offensive line, as Miami has seen over the last few years with all the offensive line injuries. So I think it's kind of necessary to at least double up there. And potentially protecting him, especially in preseason games, Dillon Gabriel, who has shown himself to be a very productive college quarterback. I've seen him ball out in 2 different conferences and go bar for bar with a lot of really good guys and really good players. I think Dillon Gabriel could be a very good quarterback. Now, obviously, he's on the smaller side, but that's all right. I think you can make it work with him as long as the protection is good, because Oregon had one of the best offenses in college football last year and during the regular season, and not a defense could stop them no matter how good it was. Now, I did need a safety, and I understand that I waited a little bit too long in some cases, maybe for a safety. And Dante Trader Jr. is versatile enough where I think he could play some safety and also play some nickel. His small frame is a little bit of a concern, but I do think he has shown himself that he can tackle, even with the small 180-plus pound frame. Trader Jr., I think, would be a nice reserve safety with the guys we already have, and I think that would be an interesting pick there. I picked Phil Maffa because, quite honestly, another bulldozer of a back to bring some thunder to this backfield that accompanies the Lightning. That is Jalen Wright and Devon Achane. I think we just need one more guy that can bring that kind of thunder, and I think Maffa could do such a thing. And Gus Hartwig, who, a center, I think we need a legitimate day one steady center. It's admirable that Liam Eichenberg can play center in a pinch, but I'd rather have a natural center play that spot and be the backup, and maybe Hartwig could do such a thing. So that's my draft without trades. As for the draft with them, there was only 2 that I made. The first was this one with the Giants, where I flipped 13 and 253, got out of the first round entirely, but I got a lot of stuff back, getting 2 second-round picks and, or really a second 2/3 and an extra second next year. So I was able to get a lot of value. I gave up 253, but okay, cool, fine. Not tripping on that. And I got a lot of value back for this, so I can't really complain. I did one other trade. I just forgot to add it to it here. Traded with the Broncos and traded 48 with Denver to move back 3 spots and still pick up 122. So that's what I did, and those are the only 2 trades I made for this one. And I feel like I got everything I wanted out of this draft. Now, though I couldn't get Kenneth Grant in that draft, I did get Kenneth Grant in this one. I'm very happy that I got Kenneth Grant to start the second round effectively, and I feel good about it. I feel good about making that move. I think Kenneth Grant's going to be really, really good. Mason Taylor has shown himself to be a very good receiving tight end. I think he down the seams with Jonnu Smith would be nice. I mean, it's a good PR pick, sure, that Mason Taylor joins the team where his Hall of Fame dad was first ballot Hall of Fame and most of his career in Miami. So maybe that would be a nice pick for, I guess, morale purposes. But Mason Taylor could actually get busy. And it's on the board that he's a first-round pick, or at least a high-end second. So Miami might not even have a shot at him at 48. Andrew Makuba, a thumping safety. And that's something I think we could definitely use, and something I think we could really have as a box safety type of dude. And Makuba could certainly do that and join the ranks of the safety room. I think that'd be a really good look here. And I'm going to give Kenneth Grant a friend here, a destructive friend with Zach Sealer, and Joshua Farmer, I think, could be said friend. Now, I truly believe Miami should get 2 defensive tackles between 13 and 116, and the fact that this Giants trade allowed me to get two, one at 34, and then obviously the natural Dolphins pick at 98, where I could have picked them at 99, but it all works out. It's all worked out all the same. Anyway, Farmer and Grant and Sealer, that's the 3D tackles. I think that could make some noise and make things happen along the defensive line and cause a lot of mayhem. So I'm all for that. Got to build in the trenches. Got to win in the trenches. And we need to do more of that going forward. Ideally, Zay Alexander becomes a boundary corner and eventually maybe even CB1. I would like to go that route and have Zay at least learn from Ramsey if Ramsey stays a Dolphin, and then he kind of becomes CB1 eventually, if in this scenario. Slater, I think, will be a maybe even day one starter at left guard or right guard, depending on where you want to put Daniels from Pittsburgh. And ideally, with his abilities, he played pretty well at Sacramento State. I think Jackson Slater could slide right in to a starting position in due time. Now, Jalen Travis, I already talked about. A big man who I think could help the cause. He can't have too many tackles. Damian Martinez brings some thumping out of the backfield and some good playmaking ability. He was a solid back last year in Miami, and I think he could be a good NFL pro in the right system. Teddy Buchanan, a mix of a good tackling linebacker and a good linebacker that could get home and rush the quarterback. I think that would be another versatile piece for Anthony Weaver to play with. Seth McLaughlin, because I do not love the idea of having a safe center who's not a natural center as a backup. And with Aaron Brewer, who stayed healthy last year, and ideally he does this year too. But you got to be prepared for these things, I think. Trey Wedding is another offensive lineman because, again, you can't have too many of them. I think he did a pretty good job in Indiana last year. And then obviously Curtis Rourke, I was able to snatch him at quarterback. So I got back-to-back Hoosiers to close out this draft. So there you have it. This is my draft with trades as opposed to the draft without them. I feel like I addressed a lot of needs in both of these drafts. And on Thursday, I'm going to do my final and official mock draft. There may not be a draft with trades because it may not be necessary to do one since it's going to be the official one. And then on Friday, I will obviously react to the draft in question. I may even react live to the draft, depending on what happens on Thursday night. So we'll see how that works. And that will make the 13th pick of my official draft the first stop of my next train of thought.